Merry Christmas. Hill Jr., he's a good-looking guy on the left, Fort Worth Star-Telegram. I am Mac Engel of the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, who is not expecting to work today, but I decided to end my vacation.
You look like you didn't expect to work today.
No, I really didn't.
You got alfalfa?
Yep.
You got a little alfalfa going on.
Well, I'll probably get a haircut sometime next year. Back the COVID look. I had a hat on. Maybe I should put that back on. But you know what? I'm 47. I've still got all this. So I'm just going to let it go. I think I look pretty good. What about you?
Enjoy your hair. You look great. You know what also looks great? Those Dallas Cowboys. 3 straight wins.
What a transition.
The playoffs. The playoffs. You're talking about the playoffs.
Damn right. Just like, you know what? When this team, Dallas Cowboys dropped to 2-7, what feels like 13 years ago. And now after this 3-game winning streak, all against teams with losing records, they will enter week 17 of the regular season with a chance to go to the playoffs, win the NFC East, and host a playoff game. They beat the
More fans for Jerry at AT&T Stadium.
Say again?
More fans for Jerry at AT&T Stadium, too.
That's right. More than 30,000 fans. Texas has beat COVID. Got the Rose Bowl, World Series. Everything's coming to Texas. I love it. I wish the Super Bowl was coming here because we know the Cowboys aren't going to play in it. Cowboys win today 37-17. Andy Dalton looks like the second coming of Andy Dalton from TCU or I don't know, whatever. Clarence, is this ultimately a good thing or a bad thing?
I mean, I think it's good. I'm not into lose and try to lose. And I can understand why it's beneficial for organization to get a top pick. But, you know, players want to win. Coaches want to win. It's an attitude. And whether they make the playoffs or not is still a long shot. They still need the Eagles, who look like trash today, to somehow beat Washington, who looks like trash. But you can't count on the Eagles to go and beat Washington. Of course, we don't know who's going to play quarterback for Washington, but let's give the Cowboys credit. You know, I know they beat 3 bad teams, but they were losing to bad teams before, okay? Yep. Let's not act like, you know, they only got beat up by playoff teams. They were losing to bad teams, and the way they're winning, this was a blowout, okay? This was a blowout win against Washington. 1 week after, against Philadelphia, 1 week after beating the 49ers, who we say they're not good, but they went and smacked Arizona yesterday, okay? And that Arizona team handled Philadelphia. Philadelphia played pretty well, and everybody was all excited about Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia quarterback and how he was going to look against the Cowboys defense and run all over. But after scoring 14 points on the first 2 drives, the Cowboys allowed 3 the rest of the way, shut them out in the second half. This Cowboys defense, I think, was more impressive than the offense. And we know the offense with Andy Dalton, the CeeDee Lamb, and Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup went up. Even Zeke had 100 yards. Everybody was eating on offense. But that defense, no one saw that coming.
No, and I'll tell you the one guy that really impressed me, Randy Gregory, looks like the guy that they thought they were getting when they stole him out of the second round, what feels like 10 years ago. Randy Gregory looked great today. And, you know, as much as Aldon Smith has fallen off, whether he's older or whatever, Randy Gregory looks like the complimentary Lawrence we kind of saw a couple of years ago. And I got to tell you, as a Cowboys fan and observer or whatever else, I'm excited about that Randy Gregory who's playing right now. No,
you're excited about his future. I mean, he had 1.5 sacks, 3 forced fumbles today. Only 1 was recovered. He had 3 forced fumbles today. The Cowboys have 3 turnovers today. They've had 11 turnovers, I think, in the last 3 games. Randy Gregory looked good, okay? But you had Anthony Brown had an interception. Trevon Diggs had an interception. That defense, you know, after what we saw the first 2 drives, I mean, they ran it down their gut, and then they hit him with the deep ball to Deshaun Jackson, who did a somersault in the end zone, like, okay, here we go again. Here we go again. Defense can't stop anybody. And they basically stoned them the rest of the way.
They did. Like you said, they only gave up 3 points. They made Jalen Hurts look like a rookie because he is. And as good as Jalen Hurts looked on those first 2 drives, sub-average the rest of the way. No. That's a lot of credit to the Cowboys defense. As much as we killed Mike Nolan, credit to, but I think he's going to last. I don't think it really is going to matter that much. But for all these coaches who are getting killed, starting with that guy, is there any chance he's if they win Sunday against the Giants in New York, and somehow Washington, a bad Washington team, loses to a bad Eagles team in Philly, does Mike Nolan save his job? I think he does.
I mean, I think everything's on the table because, that's Mike McCarthy's boy, okay? And you can say they have gotten better. They look more comfortable. I mean, I just looked the way they played defense today and the angles they took, it hurts. It wasn't just stopping him, but the way they contained him, they were well coached. They were well coached how to handle this running quarterback and the things that they did. And the Eagles have firepower on the outside. You saw, they got Jalen Reagor. You saw they got what Deshaun Jackson can do. We know about the tight ends. They got weapons too. And basically the Cowboys nullified those weapons, for the rest of the way. And so hats off to them. Hats off to what they did and the way this defense has come together and just looking like a unit, a respectable unit after looking like trash for much of the year.
No, they did. They look like a professional football team. They did. They don't look like, it doesn't look like they're going to beat Seattle. I don't think they could beat the Rams, any number of teams. I don't think but they looked respectable, which, for a good portion of the season, they were an embarrassment. But Clarence, of the two major things that happened today in the NFC East, which one surprised you more? That the Cowboys went out and rolled an Eagles team that had shown signs, or a Washington team that was starting a former first-round pick in Dwayne Haskins, who's essentially playing for his future in Washington, goes out and lays an egg and has to turn to somebody, Tyler Meineke car care, against a 4-win Carolina team in Washington?
Yeah, I'm not surprised at Washington. I thought that when Dwayne Haskins was starting, I said the Cowboys got a chance. Now, the surprising thing was how the Cowboys dominated and blew out the Eagles. But I'm not surprised that Washington lost. Carolina has been pesky, feisty all year. They're a decent coach team, and they're not going to give up. They're not going to quit. And so I think that I figured Washington would lose because of Dwayne Haskins. I mean, his decision making. I mean, it's going back to the strip club last week after losing. And then they did not want to start him. Let's be honest. They only started him because Alex Smith couldn't go. So it wasn't any confidence in what he could do. And he went out there and stunk up the place and would justify why no one had any confidence in his abilities. They were also without their best receiver, Terry McLaurin, and they have no weapons outside of McLaurin on the outside. And so, no, that was not a surprise at all. The surprise, again, was the way the Cowboys blew out the Eagles. I mean, Eagles lost last week. They've lost 2 of the last 3 games, but they beat the Saints, and everybody was feeling good about, the Eagles. They got a pretty good defense, and the way Jalen Hurts was playing, and I'm thought, there's no way the Cowboys, they're going to finally place a team that's, has some positivity going at quarterback and seemingly, and has a good defense. And I thought today was the day the Cowboys, the bubble was going to burst for the Cowboys. I really did. I don't know what you saw, what you expect to come into this game, but based on looking at the Eagles from afar, I'm thinking, okay, the bubble is finally going to burst, and we're going to go back to talking about the offseason and the draft and everything else. But no, we're talking about playoffs.
Well, I'll tell you, what I expected from Philadelphia was an offense that's going to be inconsistent. I always go back to John Madden had said, I remember this, when Tony Romo was a starting quarterback for the first time. This is back in 2006. When Romo was a starter, they shot out of a cannon, and then they started doing this. And I remember Madden saying, he said, when you have a young rookie quarterback, you're going to be inconsistent. Your offense is going to be inconsistent. And if you looked at it, he's going to be inconsistent. Now, his ceiling may be pretty high, but he's barely played in the NFL. He's played a lot of high caliber college games, both at Alabama and Oklahoma. And you can sit there and make fun of certain NFL teams, but the NFL is all better than college. And I thought that was the one thing that would give the Cowboys, if they could get any pressure on them, which they did, Randy Gregory did, that cough it up a couple of times, and could the Cowboys catch it? And they did. Yeah. But the part that I just could not have seen coming was Andy Dalton almost throwing for 400 yards, and all of those talented receivers all of them having a great day on the same day. Now, I know they destroyed the career of Jaquette, the cornerback for the Eagles. Felt bad for him watching him out there. But I could not have expected Dallas to do offensively what they did today, because with Andy Dalton, they hadn't shown that yet. They had done a little bit of this, but they hadn't done this.
No, and Andy Dalton threw for more yards in the first half than he did in 5 of the 7 previous starts. Okay, he was deep and dunked Andy. I mean, he was averaging like 6.1 yard per attempt, coming into this game, and they started going downfield and doing some things that they did with Dak. I mean, that looked like Dak Prescott offense. Yeah. That's what we expected with those receivers. Give those guys a chance, and that's what he did. He gave those guys a chance to make plays, and this is what we expected to start a season from that receiving core. Everybody's going to eat. And you have playmakers, Gallup and Cooper and Lamb all did their damage and made plays to make this happen. And one of the best thing I liked about it, on the smoke screen to Michael Gallup, the lead blocker was Amari Cooper. He got the block just, right before the half and led to the big play that ended up with the touchdown. But they're all unselfish, and they all want each other to succeed. And so they have a nice group of receiver, and you add in what Zeke did, with the running game and getting over 100 yards 1 week after everybody was killing him. And don't put Zeke back out there. I want Pollard to start. And he gets over 100 yards. Good for Zeke. He doesn't want to quit. I mean, one thing about him, you can say whether he's declining or whatever else, but he's not a quitter. He's a competitor, and he's going to give it his all. And so that offense with Dalton looking good, the receivers looking good, and I was worried about the offensive line against the Eagles' defensive front, and that's one thing I didn't think that they could protect Dalton, because the Eagles have a pretty good front, and we know about this maligned offensive line with all these different guys and these young guys you never expected to play, but they did a good job. But who also did a good job? Who's also had a great job interview today?
Kellen Moore.
One Kellen Moore.
Kellen Moore will be the next head coach of his alma mater, Boise State. He's going back to Boise. There's no doubt about it. Do you think there's any doubt about Kellen Moore's leaving?
I mean, there's a question. I mean, the guy's only coached 3 years. Okay, he's only been a coach 3 years, but yes, he's a god at Boise. Right. He's one of the 2 guys that they're targeting, including the defensive coordinator for Oregon, who has more coaching experience. But he's the god, and today, considering what he's had to deal with all season with 4 different quarterbacks, the different offensive line, losing Zeke, losing your tight end you expected to have in Blake Jarwin, to be able to generate the offense they've been able to generate. And again, they are finally looking like the offense we expected to have. Certainly that's what they look like today. You have to give Kevin more credit. That touchdown pass to CeeDee Lamb was all scheme. I mean, if you look at
you're right.
It was all scheme. They schemed that. And it was just wide open. All they had to do, and it just had to throw it out there because there was no one around him. That had nothing to do with CeeDee's talent. That was all scheme. That's all the coach.
No, and you mentioned, talking about giving credit. You kind of mentioned it because you mentioned the Amari Cooper block that sprang Michael Gallup on that slip screen there at the end of the first half. I thought the blocking today was as good as we've seen all season long. And you talk about guys who are maligned. You talk about guys who have been kicked down. That offensive line, deservedly so, they deserve it. They heard it because they earned it when they were bad. They should hear it today. They beat up a pretty good, a better Eagles defense than certainly when they played that garbage game a couple of months ago in Philadelphia when Ben DiNucci was out there getting his brains kicked in. Clarence, I want to ask you something before we go. Dallas plays against the Giants to end the regular season against Daniel Jones, who did not look good today. The Giants did not look good today, and a loss against a better Ravens team. They got their rear ends handed to them. And then Philly will host Washington. Washington had gone on a 4-game winning streak. Now they've lost back-to-back games against the Seahawks and Panthers. Like you said, a scrappy, but still a 4-win Panthers team. So, Cowboys have to have Washington lose in order to even have a shot at it. Of the two, are we going to see a repeat next week of what we saw today, where the opponent loses and win and open the door to 7-9, NFC East Championship, and a home playoff game?
I think the Cowboys win. The Cowboys are playing better. They're playing their best football of the season. Let's be honest about it. They're playing better than the Giants. The wild card is we don't know what to expect from Washington and Philadelphia. You don't know what to expect. I don't think, if Alex Smith plays, we'll see. But if Alex Smith doesn't play,
go back. Clarence, you said we don't know if Alex Smith plays. Dwayne Haskins is Dwayne Haskins. They didn't want to start him for a reason. All the reasons that you just said, decision-making, whatever you want to call it. If he's your starter, I think Washington's going to, even if his backup is the starter, if Alex Smith starts, I think Washington's going to win that game.
Yeah, if they have a better chance to win if Alex Smith starts. There's no question about that. And we'll see what the Eagles do because they've been eliminated. So they may not, dress guys or whatever else. They may bring up young guys and different things like that. So we'll see. But, the question is who starts the quarterback for Washington. If Alex Smith starts, I think they'll win. If they don't, then it's all there for the taking for the Cowboys. I mean, I think the Cowboys are going to play to win. I think they're going to beat the Giants. And the question is, let's look ahead. If they win, do they get Tampa? If they get to the playoffs, don't they get Tampa? Don't the worst division champ get the best wild card team?
No, let me look at it right now. Let me look at the NFC. Let's look at this right now. Right now, if the Cowboys were to somehow get in, right now, I think they would get the Rams because Tampa right now. Tampa's right now got the best. Nope, I'm wrong. I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wild card team.
The best wild card team plays the.
No, you're right. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong spot. So you get Tom Brady, Bruce Arians, Mike Evans, former Aggie great. No, you're right.
Tom Brady at AT&T Stadium have 50,000 fans. 50,000 fans, and they beat COVID.
Socially distanced. Don't worry. Well, you kind of, Clarence, I just wrote this. This looks a lot like a Jason Garrett season. They were always relevant.
How many times have they gone to the final game with a chance to get to the playoffs?
So in his 9 seasons, full seasons as head coach, they played a meaningful game, week 17 game, in 7 of those 9 seasons, including last year. Remember, they went into the regular season finale. If they beat Washington and the Eagles lost to the Giants, the Cowboys get in. The Eagles kicked the Giants' butt. Jason Garrett was let go. But you remember those first 3 seasons, full seasons.
Those 8 seasons, they had a chance to get in.
Right. Yep. They went in 8-7 and 8 in every one of those games. They played a different division opponent in every one of those regular season finales with a chance to go to the playoffs, and they lost all 3. 2 of them were close. 1 of them was a butt kicking against the Giants. All that being said, Clarence, the best the Cowboys can do is go 7-9. The best they can do. Have they done enough in these last 3 weeks to sit there and say, you know what? You lost your starting quarterback. You lost everybody in your offensive line. Yeah, okay, you salvaged the season. It was all right. Or do you still sit there and look at it? Who cares? The only reason you're any good is because the NFC East is garbage and you are the least smelly piece of trash in an otherwise god-awful disaster garbage of trash.
I mean, it's like how you want to look at 2020, okay? It started out bad for everybody. But if you have a chance to end on an upswing and feel good and go into 2021 with some momentum, with some confidence that things will be better, win or lose, get to the playoffs or not, the Cowboys have laid the foundation for a brighter future. Sound like a politician.
Yes, you do.
Brighter future lies ahead.
Better days are ahead. Sun shining on the hill. Here's January 20. Everything's going to be different now. You wrote it.
You brought that up. I didn't bring that part up.
No. You let that up. I didn't do that. Will Andy Dalton be back?
I think he has a chance to be back as their backup quarterback. I mean, what you saw today was what they hoped. Here's a guy who can win games for you if Dak Prescott was hurt, and that's why they brought him here. The question is, will he have opportunities, to be a starter somewhere? That's the big question. If he does, he's going to go for that. But I don't know where he goes to be a starter. You look at the jobs out there. Where does he go? Most teams are going to be looking for a a guy in the draft. Most of the top teams, and I don't know if he's a Fitzmagic type guy who goes in and sets the table for a young guy if that's what he wants to do or not. But I just don't know.
They all want to start. They all want to start. And I just didn't think if you looked at it, is there any team that you would say that's a match? His family really matters to him. They're happy here, but he knows he's only got so many years left to potentially start. Is there anybody out there? I don't think there is. Is there any team out there you'd say, yeah, he'd go start there? Like if Matt Stafford.
I don't think there's a team out there that say I'm putting my future at Andy Dalton as the starting quarterback.
No, I agree with you. And
I just don't see it happening. So if you're going to be a backup, why not be a backup in Dallas?
Nope, it's a good idea. Clarence, this was fun. How was Santa Claus this year? Did he treat you well?
I am Santa Claus.
Hey, the best news is for those of you who are watching and don't know, Clarence has been through a lot, probably more than most in 2020. His parents have been through a lot, but they're hanging on and they're doing pretty well. God love you, Clarence. Merry Christmas to you and your beautiful daughters, and a Happy New Year. Be safe, and we'll see you on the other side when the Cowboys get ready to go to the playoffs and win the Super Bowl.
You said it.
Right. My words, not yours. Say, brother.